All right, we've come to the final chapter in our series of episodes devoted to chapters in the book Change Your World by John Maxwell and Rob Hoskins. And the final chapter, chapter 9, is called It's Your Turn to Change Your World. And what they did in this chapter is pretty much wrap up the book by going just like a review of the first of all 8 chapters that came before. And they broke it into 4 phases. So I'm going to go into those in just a second. I love the quote they started with, though. It was by Andy Warhol, the famous artist. He said, "They always say that time changes things, but you actually have to change them yourself." And I like that because, time heals all wounds and that type of comment, or quote you'll hear, but you have to do something. You have to act if you really want time to change things for you. It doesn't just sit there other than growing physically and then, plants growing just through time. You have to make the things in your life happen if you want them to happen. You have to make those changes yourself, as opposed to just letting the time take it over for you. So anyway, they offered a lot of support and encouragement in this chapter. They said to follow the map that they had laid out. Here was a quote from them. They wanted to take us on an aspirational journey in 4 phases, from me to we to making a difference together. That's exactly what they did, in my opinion. So obviously, if it's 8 chapters and they're talking about 4 phases, well, each phase had 2 chapters. So the first 2 chapters were We Can't Wait for Change and Become a Catalyst for Change. And this is where they started focusing on trying to make a difference. He said, "We hope that reading them fed a growing passion within you to change your world and affirmed your ability to make a difference." And they talked about how they kind of watered the seed. They used the metaphor of watering seeds. They watered the seeds of compassion in us and the conviction in us so that would blossom into hope. All right, we'll talk about hope again in a little bit, but that hope that you can now create a better place, a better world. And then the next 2 chapters are about, so the first phase was I want to make a difference. The second phase was with people who make a difference. The next 2 chapters, we all need one another, and let's all get on the same page. That chapter 3 was probably the most impactful to me, although that's hard to say, but that's the one where he had the story about Casey Crawford, the former NFL player who decided there had to be more to his life, and he wanted to do more with his life. And he founded Movement Mortgage to try and help people who struggled getting mortgages in this world because of their, station in life and their income. But even that wasn't enough. He then took that company, expanded it and exploded it, and created the Movement Foundation, where they're helping build schools for kids in poor communities in North Carolina. I think Charlotte was where he started it all. And then built hospitals in those communities. And it's just expanded and grown. And the video in that part of their website, it's movementmortgage.com. Check it out. Movement Foundation, that part of it. I heard this voice speaking. And I'm thinking, that's John Maxwell. That's the guy in the book, who wrote the book. That's our guy that I've done a series on. I've done a ton of quotes on. And because I recognize the voice. And what he was saying hit me right in the heart. And then what Casey Crawford says hit me right in the heart about the differences, both of them about success and significance. And it's great stuff. So get on their site as well. Anyway, he said, we said that change is greater when everyone works together, each bringing specific skills, talent, and experience to the table and making everyone better. When people collaborate, movements start. And there's the concept, movement mortgage, movement foundation. When people who care get on the same page and work from a foundation of shared values, they can make a difference. Well, there's the key word kicking in or moving into the next phase, values, because the next phase chapters in the phase living values that make a difference were experience the value of values and transformation happens one table at a time. Remember the concept of transformation tables. He said, Rob and I have never seen positive change occur or the transformation of a community happen unless good values were embraced by the people involved. You have to live with good values. Coaches, leaders of teams, are you embracing good values, B, living them, showing people that this is how I live, and C, teaching them to your people, being intentional about getting them into your organizations? Because if you're not, you're probably struggling to create the best experience possible for people. Right? We have to focus on values. Live them, emphasize them, teach them. I mean, really important things. And then reward them would be another thing to do, and hold people accountable to them. Whatever your hopes and dreams for positive change, whether it's for yourself or others, living good values will expand them. Good values always make a difference. And then they talked about why the best way to create those and help people live those good values is through what they called transformation tables. And it was literally tables where the people would sit down and talk and build their futures. So great stuff in that. And we'll come back to that concept in a minute. Phase 4 was taking action that makes a difference. Chapter 7 was what gets done gets measured. They took that famous Peter Drucker line, what gets measured gets done, and turned it around to what gets done gets measured, because that's what Rob does in his One Hope organization. Everything they do, they measure how it's working. And then the next chapter, chapter 8, our final chapter, last week's chapter, Let's Keep Talking. These were both all about taking action. So everything built up to, you got to take action. It's great to have all these ideas, this hope, but if you don't take action, nothing really happens. In them, we offered practical principles to ensure the action you take creates the difference you desire. And here comes that word again, hope. Hope, though powerful, is not enough to change your world. Action is what actually makes a difference. To keep making a difference, we need to continue talking to one another to have ongoing transformational conversations. That's what we talked about last week. So then they said, so how do you do this? Well, the first thing they said is get in where you fit in. Follow this roadmap that they created. One way is to get on their site, changeyourworld.com. I highly recommend you do so. I mentioned it to you a few chapters ago. Changeyourworld.com. They have materials there for you to get started working on these concepts. They said, we each take a unique route to get there, but the result we desire is the same, transformation. And so we're not all going to follow the same path. We're going to go our different ways, but we're all trying to get to the same concept of transformation. He says it matters less how you get started than that you simply get started. Again, this concept was speaking to me. Just like the Casey Crawford one last week, let's keep talking. There were so many important things in there. And then that concept, I just need to get started with this project that I've been hinting at to you for the last 9 weeks. 10 weeks maybe, that this thing that has been on my mind for pushing now a year, that I want to bring out to the world. And this book was kind of the catalyst that said, Scott, it's time to do it. That kind of line right there. No matter how, I'm still working on the how. You're going to find out next week, depending upon how far I go into it in next week's video. You're going to find out the what, while I'm still working on the how. I'm probably going to be trying to get some help from you in the how. And I hope you'll join me on it. And then they said, you may blaze your own trail. They told this powerful story about this young girl, Charlie, I'm going to butcher her name, sorry, Shavidjan Sherry, something like that. She dropped out of school her junior year. Her dad had known Rob and I think worked in Rob's organization. And her dad said, that's fine. He wasn't happy about it, but he's like, that's fine, but you're going to do something. You're going to work. You're going to get a job. Okay. Well, she decided to do an internship at Rob's One Hope organization. She went to South Africa, and there she was 5 months. She was there for 5 months. One day, and she was helping underprivileged people. One day, somebody put a baby in her arms that had been taken out of the trash, and she went home that day and bawled her eyes out, thinking about that little kid and where's that kid's life going to go. And she kept thinking, if only there was somebody there to help her mother, help her mother feel support, that would be one less kid without a mom. And so she decided to do something about it. She went back home and her family said, you need to get a college education if you want to do this thing you want to do, because she wanted to start helping mothers. They said it would help you to have, if you're going to build a business kind of thing, and a business model. So she went to Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. And she was going to go back to South Africa to help, and realized there were enough poor people in her own community and mothers having this same type of situation. She decided to do it right there. She created an organization called EMA, Every Mother's Advocate. And started as one group, and then it started to grow around the city because there were a lot of people all around the city who needed this help. Eventually, she got married. She and her husband, she graduated, got married, and then she and her husband decided to move to South Florida. And so she started the whole thing over again. She knew it was going to be a challenge, but she wanted to continue to help mothers who needed help. And there's a Nelson Mandela quote that was very powerful to her. He said, if you want the cooperation of humans around you, you must make them feel they are important. This is what we need to do, coaches. This is what we need to do, leaders. Help the people who we're leading feel important. Okay? So every mom in that organization was treated with dignity, respect, and kindness. Because let's face it, a lot of people probably were not treating them that way. She's just a regular person, but she's changing her world. And they said, what she's done, you can do that kind of thing too. You know, you can do it yourself, or you can join their transformation team, Maxwell's and Hoskins. Okay, you can get involved in the changeyourworld.com group and then see where that goes. There's a gal, Becky Bursell, they talk about, who did exactly that. She was very successful in a business, nutritional supplement business. Might have been a network marketing type, I'm not sure. But she and her husband did great financially, and she's like, is this all there is to it? I'm just making money? You know, I want to help people in a different, and of course, providing nutritional supplements is probably helping people, but she just wasn't feeling it as much. So she sold her business and started working on transformation tables with Maxwell and Hoskins, and started growing and building and helping people. And I love this quote from her. She said, you can change your world when you, 1, facilitate transformation tables, 2, complete the curriculum, 3, live the values, 4, share your experience of transformation, 5, invite others to facilitate transformation tables, and 6, repeat. She said, this curriculum is so powerful. These are values embedded in universal principles that can be applied to every path in life. All we have to do is be the facilitators. And so what Maxwell and Hoskins were saying is, either go your own way and create and change your own world. That's great. But if you don't know really what you can do, join them in their quest to help change the world, to make the world a better place for other people. And so they ask, what step are you going to take? Where can you help other people make a difference? Well, if you're a coach, why don't you take that step that I'm trying to take in terms of helping kids have the best experiences possible? Why don't you do all you can with your teams to build and grow them? How about trying to work to create the best leaders in your teams and continue to help your kids then go on and take what you work on within your teams and apply it everywhere in their lives? Or if you're a leader of a company of some sort, try to do those same things with your people. Yes, you want to build and grow your company, but how about instilling and working on the values that you want your people to have, to then spread those out to the rest of the world, or the rest of their world? Because as you change your world by helping them, they can go out and change their worlds too. You don't need to change the whole world, they said. Just make things better for people in your world. They said, if you, John and Rob, join them on their team if you want. They're not going to try and mold you a certain way. You'll be able to ask yourself and become the best version of yourself. Okay, I'm going to wrap with a couple of quotes of theirs. If you have a sense of what you should do, then do it. You can change your world. Transformation is possible for anyone willing to learn and live good values, value people and collaborate with them to create a positive value culture. What matters now is you do something. Get started today and find out where it leads. Even if it turns out totally different from what you expect, you'll enjoy the journey and you'll never regret working to make a difference, because it will change your world and you. And then they again reiterate, go to changeyourworld.com if you would like some of the materials on how to do this and how to start the transformation tables concept. So, love this concept, this idea. This book was so powerful. I hope you've enjoyed these 9 episodes that I talked about the book in each chapter. Thank you, John Maxwell and Rob Hoskins, for writing such a powerful, strong book with such great ideas in it. Next week, I move to two things. One, I'm going to talk about some quotes in another book that I had just finished reading this past week that were right in line with this. And I'm going to start the reveal of what it is that I'm working on that these guys have really kind of kickstarted me to say, you need to do this. All right. So that's coming next week. I might not go into all the details next week on that. It might be the following week. We'll just see how the timing goes for things, because once again, a book hit me hard, and the quotes in it hit me hard. It's like, oh my gosh, this is right in line with what I've just been talking about for 9 weeks. So anyway, come back and see what's happening. I'm really looking forward to these next couple of episodes to get this out into the world and have you maybe help us out with how we're going to change our world. We'll do that next week. We'll see you then.